if you were married for at least 10 years and you are still currently single, then you could actually claim divorced spousal benefits on one of your ex-spouses. A lot of people realize what the spousal benefit is if you're working, or sorry, if you're married, but you don't realize what a divorced benefits could be. So spousal benefits, first off, are worth 50% of the other worker's benefits if the worker claimed at full retirement age. Once again, we're going to use 66 as full retirement age. And it's available as early as 62, but it will be permanently reduced. And if your full retirement age is 66 and you claim at 62, it's only going to be 35% rather than the 50%. Now, so let's look at a non-traditional example, then we'll look at a more traditional example. Let's say there is a wife who is the older of the two. She's 70 and the husband is 60. So there's a 10-year difference, which people are like, wow, I don't see that happening. It's happened. We've had people sit in our office that had that big of an age gap when it was reversed. I mean, most of the time it's the husband that's a little older and the wife that's a little younger. In this case, it was flip-flopped and a big difference. And so if the wife is 70 and she never worked, right? She was maybe like my mom and she raised 6 good kids, but really didn't spend much time in the working world. But let's say she has 0 earnings whatsoever. And her husband's only 60 and does have Social Security benefits that she could claim. Nobody can claim Social Security at this point, right? She's 70, but has no earnings. He's 60, so not eligible to claim at all yet. Right. So she wouldn't be available to claim for a few more years. And so, yeah, that's an issue. So that's a non-traditional example. A more traditional couple, it may actually make sense for the higher earner to wait to claim and the lower earner to maybe claim earlier, right? Because you may need some extra during that gap between 62 and 70, but that allows the higher of the two to defer and to have a possible higher spousal benefit, or survivor benefit once they do pass away. So now, let's say we've got a divorced spouse, all right? So you got a divorced spouse. What are their options? Well, if you were married for at least 10 years and you are still currently single, then you could actually claim divorced spousal benefits on one of your ex-spouses. And you'll also be able to receive a survivor benefit based on an ex-spouse equal to 100% of what they were receiving or what they would have been receiving at the time of death, right? And this is even if they themselves have remarried. You can't be currently remarried, but if they have even remarried, you can still get survivor benefits based on their record, even if you are divorced, right? And so if you, let's say, with divorce rates, what they've been, you actually could have multiple spouses. What do you do if you have multiple spouses? Well, if you have spouse number 1 that you were married to for 10 years, and then spouse number 2 that you were married to for 10 years, got a divorce, from each one of them, you can choose from either of them. Actually, it's like either are available to you. You'll want the larger of the two, of course. That's the one that you will want to claim on. And so you would have access to either. So let's say that in this case, husband number 1 is the higher earner. So you can get the spousal benefit based on him. So it doesn't have to be sequential. So you don't always have to have the last spouse that you were married to. You can claim either spouse. But let's say, so spouse number 1 is the higher earner of the two. So you start claiming a spousal benefit based on them. Now, if you were 62 before 2015, you can claim claim spousal benefits and then switch to your own later on. But if not, then it's like you're taking your own as well at the same time. So you have to be very, very careful of that. But that is if you were 62 by 2015, this is very, very good. You could do a spousal benefit and then claim your own later on at 70, allowing those delayed retirement credits to grow and all that. If not, so let's say you married, divorce, access to those 2 Social Securities. Now you're claiming the spousal benefit based off of the higher earner, husband number 1, but then husband number 2 passes away and his survivor benefit is going to be more than the spousal benefit because you get 100% of the survivor benefit. So 100% is usually going to be more than 50%, even if the 50% number was higher than the other 50% number, right? And so now you switch to taking survivor benefits from husband number 2. Well, then husband number 1 passes away a little bit later. And once again, since he was the higher earner, his survivor benefits are going to be more than husband number 2. So now you're taking husband number 1's survivor benefit, right? So what this basically means is don't throw away all the documentation from all of your marriages and your divorces. You'll want to keep those. Matter of fact, this might be a really good reason why a lot of people are on Facebook. You don't want to lose track of your ex-spouses, because it's not like the Social Security Administration is going to be out there tracking you down to say, hey, you have an ex-spouse that you can claim money on, or you have an ex-spouse that just passed away, right? They won't know that unless you're already claiming benefits. If you're already claiming spousal benefits on a divorced spouse, and then they receive a death certificate, then you will automatically get the higher amount of that spouse, but they won't know that there's another spouse out there. And if that one's going to be higher, they won't know that. And so this is a really good reason of why you might want to keep tabs on some of your ex-spouses. And so that may be a reason why a lot of us are on Facebook, right, when we get older. But seriously, no tongue in cheek anymore. But seriously, you do want to make sure that you keep track of that. That way you can actually get the highest benefit that you are able to get. So hopefully those couple different strategies that we talked about are ones that were a little bit eye-opening, because sometimes we think about certain situations and we only go so far, but we don't go as deep as what we possibly can to realize what's actually available out there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and smash the notification bell to get updated every single week when we put out new content. If you are watching this on the podcast, we bring podcasts out every single week. There's just a lot of content that we are always trying to bring people in order to empower them to live the retirement they deserve. Take care.